This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining us today is George Roach, the CEO of Premier African Minerals. So George, we're speaking again. Good to have you on. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, and I trust you're well as well.
Yes, very well, thank you, George. So thank you for coming on and talking to us again. An RNS out today as further results from Zulu filter in, announcing 2 holes, grades still above that average grade of 1.06 that we spoke about last time on the previous resource. So is this continuing to be consistent, continuing to build that resource there at Zulu?
Yes, I believe so. These couple of results now are in an area that is on strike. So the important thing about these results is the lithium is very good. It's above the grade that as you've already noted, as is contained in our resource statement. They're on strike. From our point of view, it's going in the right direction. It's going to be, we believe, strongly supportive of the DFS work we're doing, and we're pretty pleased with what we see.
Okay, good. So this is obviously results from 2 boreholes. There are further boreholes still to come then?
Oh yes, many still to come. But grinding up over 20 meters of intersection takes quite a bit of work as well, and it's quite a bit of time. They are big intersections that we're seeing at the moment, and it also takes a long time to drill through them.
Yeah. Okay. And would the plan be to continue to filter that news through in drips and drabs, or will you compile it together and make a big announcement? Do you have an idea of how you might report these?
I think that when we can get to a point where we are able to update on the resource statement and give an indication of how we want to improve, for example, from inferred to indicated within the resource statement, I think once we can get to that stage, it won't be necessary to continuously small announcements with additional holes coming through. And I hope that we'll then be able to move our focus much more onto advancing the DFS, onto advancing the test work, which is starting in Germany already, into aspects like that are going to be much more important to us value add as we go forward.
Okay. Now, the other point that keeps getting mentioned is the ongoing discussions with a potential partner. It does keep being mentioned. Do the results and the grades here help with these discussions?
I've made the observation before that from a geological perspective, a fair amount of the DD work has already been done. And I don't think that these ongoing results are necessarily adding or subtracting anything to that aspect of it. It's pretty clear when you get to site and when you're with good structural geos, it's pretty clear to see where this deposit is likely to go, to see the upside of it and so on. So there seems to have been more of a focus on how much bigger and where this thing can go to than necessarily is 1 or 2 additional boreholes going to make that much difference. Collectively, they will. But the important thing is that the overall size potential of this, I think, is being better understood. Okay. So no, not having much of a bearing on it. It's the issues under due diligence that are ongoing are much more of an accounting and a legal and this and that and so on. Those are the issues being dealt with. And a very good example of it, I can give you 1 or 2 wonderful examples of it, are trying to convert Zimbabwean currency into US dollars and take account of of massive exchange rate fluctuations along the way and try and get all of this to be compliant with IFRS and so on and so forth. And there are a few issues associated with that, but they are procedural. They're not. There's nothing more than that, really.
So I know it's early stage discussions with any potential partner, but are there any comparable projects or comparable deals that maybe you could mention or allude to that might help shareholders maybe understand a bit more of the picture?
I'd be in a huge amount of trouble if I answered that. I really would, because I think that if I shouldn't really, it would be beyond confidentialities and so on if I were to do that, because there are clearly would be very easy comparables to start making in terms of investment and the way other people have invested into these projects. So, yeah, I'm going to, if you don't mind, not
decline the question.
To that one, I'm going to decline that one if you don't mind.
That's fine, George. I ask it anyway. So the final point I just want to pick up on is Rubidium. I think I'm saying that correctly. That's come up in the assay results as well. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that and if it's significant?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I hadn't taken too much notice other than of lithium and tantalum. And you'll note in one of those published results, there's some great tantalum grades. Now, I mean, for what it's worth, in our scoping study, we took no cognizance of tantalum. We didn't add it, we didn't show it as a possible credit and so on. But with grades like you're seeing in that one borehole, that's definitely credits coming. And then, of course, this rubidium number that stood out. Now, rubidium's of a particularly high value, but it's a very small quantity that's actually produced. And there are very few people who actually do produce rubidium and rubidium sulfate and rubidium compounds. It's interesting because there may be an interest from some of the people we're talking to. So beyond that and tracking it and noting that those are interesting grades, I don't think there's much more to say about it at the moment. I think it's a future metal. Let's put it that way. I think that future use may be a little bit of a different story to current, but that's a personal view.
Okay. Well, George Roach, thank you very much, the CEO of Premier African Minerals.
Thank you indeed.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.